Welcome back to Sprague Homestead on another Mailbag Monday. I'm Nikki, and here's your question of the week. So this week's question came from some new folks that have bought some land that are getting ready to build their first homestead house, and they were asking if I could redesign my house with homesteading in mind, what would I do differently? So remember that my house, or our house, shouldn't take all the ownership. Kanan lives here too. Our house was built by my parents as a vacation house. So it's a pretty small house, not a whole lot of storage, and just was meant to be something you come and stay a week at the most at before you head back home. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I think I would do differently. For one, I would do more kitchen storage, and I would probably have done a bigger kitchen. It's not a very big kitchen. It obviously works. I do a lot of canning and things in there, but I would love to have had enough space to put maybe an extra island in there for canning season, for prep work. The sink is fine. Overall, there's not a lot of kitchen storage, but that keeps me from buying a lot of gadgets too. So I'm totally okay with that. And I do have a pantry out in the shop that gives me a place to put crock pots and things like that. But overall, I would just have liked more prep space. Because you can build pantries in other rooms and things like that. But more prep space in the kitchen would have been just absolutely ideal. If I was completely throwing caution to the wind, I'd love to have a 6-burner stove, just because canning season, you get lots of pots everywhere. But you can totally make a 4-burner regular 30-inch range work. A pantry would be another thing. We had to build one out in the shop because there just was no room in the house. And if you're really doing the homesteading thing and doing a lot of canning and preserving, you really are going to need that space. Closet space is another thing here. We get pretty cold in the winter, so we've got summer blankets and winter blankets and summer sheets and winter sheets. And there's not a lot of space in this house for that kind of thing. The other thing, which is something that we ended up doing ourselves, was add a mudroom. And I don't think people stop to think about how important a mudroom is on a homestead, especially if you've got animals, right? I do wish that our mudroom had plumbing. Would have been really nice to have an extra sink, just one of those bigger basin sinks to rinse produce and things off. But the mudroom catches the mud and the dirt during the winter. That way we're not tracking stuff directly into the house. It's actually, our mudroom is pretty nice that it's enclosed on both ends. So when the dogs are wet, running through snow and things, we've got a spot to stop, towel them off, clean them up before we let them into the main part of the house. The only other thing I would probably recommend, we've got a wood stove and things like that. But if you're going to build yourself a house, give yourself a spot to start seeds, especially if you're in a really cold environment like we are. So I start as much as I can out in the greenhouses, but things like tomatoes here have to be started in January if you're really going to do much with them. And it's way too cold to start them out in the greenhouse. This is part of why we built our sunroom this last year, to give me a place to actually do some of that kind of stuff. Maybe it's just an extra, spot with some extra sunny windows or whatever it is, but do yourself a favor if you're going to build yourself a house and give yourself that extra space, because nothing is worse than pretty soon, you're starting seeds and they're in every window and they're, on the kitchen table and they're just everywhere because you're trying to get a jump on the growth season. So those would probably be all my picks for things that I would have done differently. Overall, the small size of the house works really well for just 2 of us. Keeps me from, hoarding and bringing too much stuff in. But some more storage and some places to start seeds would have been ideal. All right, so there you go. There is your Mailbag Monday question of the week. If you have other questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. You can always send me an email, srhomestead@yahoo.com. Send it on Facebook, Instagram. We're all over the place. So that is it for this week. Happy homesteading, and we'll see you next time.